Welcome to creating your first Android app in Kotlin. I'm Shahyar, a Google developer expert for Android. Google announcement that Kotlin is now an official supported language is exciting news and is really the future of Android development. I highly recommend that anyone learning Android development for the first time start off with Kotlin. In this course, you will learn how to set up your machine for Android development and then write your very first Android app in Kotlin. We will walk you through the basic components of an Android app and how the different parts work together. I love writing Android apps and can't wait to show you around, so let's get started. Thank you. Traditionally, Android apps are written in Java. Recently, Google has announced official support for Kotlin, a modern programming language that is compatible with Java. Why choose Kotlin? It's a really great programming language compared to Java. It is much more concise and it has strong null safety, meaning that you can catch potential crashes much earlier in your development cycle. For me, Kotlin has an amazing because it has a lot of built-in functionalities that you will have to implement yourself in Java. Very often I can replace 10 lines of code Java with a single line in Kotlin, making development faster and less error prone. The Android community has been very excited about Kotlin for a few years, and now with the official commitment from Google, people are moving from Java to Kotlin to write Android apps. I believe that Android will move quickly to Kotlin. So if this is your first time writing an Android app, Kotlin is the way to go. Alright, let's get started. The first thing we will do is to download Android Studio, the official IDE for Android. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment, and this is the editor we will be using to write our Android app. To get started with our project, we will download Android Studio. Open your web browser, search for Android Studio. We will go to developer.android.com/studio. Android Studio starts to support Kotlin native from version 3 and above. At the time of recording, that is under preview, so we will download it from there. Click on preview and download. Accept the terms and conditions. When it is done downloading, open the zip file. On the Mac, I will double click on it to extract it. Right now it is in the download folder. Usually I like to put it in the application folder, so I know where to find it next time I want to write an Android app. It is up to you where you want to put Android Studio. Now that we have Android Studio, let's open it. Choose open. If nothing happens, you may want to switch windows to make sure that it's not hiding behind the browser. There are two choices when you first open Android Studio. Since it is your first time, then we're using it and we don't have any setting to import, so select Do Not Import Setting. Welcome to Android Studio. Press Next. We will choose the standard installation. Android Studio will then download the list of things that you will need. You can see it here. For example, the emulator, the SDK, the support repository, etc. Click Finish. Downloading may take a while, so make sure you set aside a lot of time when you try to install Android Studio for the first time. During the installation, Android Studio may ask for your password, and so that it can install other components, go ahead and type that in. Alright, it's finished, so let's click Finish to close the dialog. Next, we are going to start a new Android Studio project. Thank you. Let's write an Android app. In Android Studio, when you open it, you will see a list of options. Hover your mouse over Start a new Android project and click on it. When we create an Android project, we will need a few parameters. First, a name. Let's call it Hello World. Next, it asks for your company domain. The reason why it does that, because eventually when you publish your app on the App Store, the domain is going to be used to generate the package name and it have to be unique. The convention is to use a domain that you own so that it will not clash with other apps. I own the domain sqsisland.com, so I'll put it in there. Next is project location. The default value is fine as long as you remember what it is, so that you can go look for it later. On the fourth line, you can see package name. It is taken from the company domain and also name. Android Studio also generates it for you. If you want, you can click on edit to give it another name, but I'll just accept this default value. Finally, very important, make sure you click on include Kotlin support so that when Android Studio generates the project, it is going to be using Kotlin instead of Java. Click on next. Here, Android Studio asks you what target we want for our app. You can see that it says by targeting API 15 and later. Your app will run on approximately 100% of device. Click on help me choose for more information. Android Studio has a very convenient guide. What this means is that as you choose a higher and higher level, you have more and more functionalities that you can use. But you can support fewer and fewer devices because fewer people will be running devices with the latest version. Which version to choose? It really depends what you want your app to do. You will need to review the list of features that you need and then decide how many people you want to support. For our first app, we will choose the lowest version 15. Click OK and then press next. Now Android Studio asks us if we want to add an activity. The default is fine, meaning choose empty activities. Click next. And now we want to give it a name to the activity and the layout name. You can just leave it as it using the default value main activity and the activity underscore main. Press next and we are done. Press finish. Now we can see that Android Studio is open with the project that we just generated. Click close to dismiss the tip of the day. First thing I recommend you to do is to go to the drop down on the top left corner. Instead of Android View, choose Project View. This means that Android Studio will display the folders and files in the same way that it is on the disk. This makes it easier when you want to store them in a version control system or simply to find out where the files are. Next, we are going to create an emulator and then run this app on emulator. Thank you. To run this Android app, we will need either an emulator or a device. Let's create an emulator. Go to the toolbar on top and look for this icon with the little Android on the corner and the rectangle that's purple inside. This is the AVD manager or the Android virtual device. Click on it. It will ask you to create a virtual device. Click on that button. We are given a lot of choices. Here we have a list of devices. As you develop your app, you may want to create multiple emulators so you can check how your app behaves. For us right now, the default one is just fine. So we'll pick next is 5x. Click next. Once you pick the device, you will also need to pick the system image. System image means that we may want to load different version of Android on this emulator. Under the recommend tab, you can see O, which is API level 26, or Nugget, which is level 24. In general, I will recommend using the latest version. So go ahead and download O. Accept the license agreement. When it is done, click finish. Now that it's downloaded, we can use it in our emulator. Click next. Finally, give it a name. The default is fine, and then press finish. Now that we have created an emulator, let's launch it. Click on the green triangle. It may take a little bit of time to launch the emulator, so please be patient. Now that the emulator is launched, we are going to move it to the right hand side of the screen and then close the list of emulators. You may have to switch windows to bring back the emulator when you close the list of emulators. Great! The emulator is just like an Android device, except it runs on your computer instead of a physical device. Next, let's deploy our app. Click on Android Studio and then on the top toolbar, you can see that there is a drop down that says App. Next to it is a green triangle. Click on it to run the app. When you deploy your app, Android Studio is going to show you a list of connected devices. Here, you can see the emulator that we just created and launched. Select it and press OK. Once again, switch windows so that you can bring up the emulator. Congratulations! Here is your first Android app. Next, we are going to try to deploy the same app onto a physical device. The emulator is great when you're writing the app and you want to test it. However, eventually you will like to put the app on the phone so that you can show it around to your friends. Let's do that now. First, close the emulator. Next, you will need an Android phone and a cable. Normally, you are not allowed to deploy an app from your computer to your phone using a cable for security reasons. However, if you enable developer mode on your phone, you can do that. To enable developer mode, go to Settings, scroll all the way to the bottom, click on About Device, scroll down to look for the build number and then tap it 7 times. And then developer mode is turned on. After that, go back on screen, scroll down, right above About Device is Developer option. This wasn't there before, but it is now shown because we have enabled developer mode. Tap on it and turn it on. For my device, it looks like it's automatically turned on. Right away, I turned on developer's mode. Scroll down and look for USB debugging. Turn it on. It asks you if you really want to do that. Say OK. With that, we are ready to use it with Android Studio. To make sure that we are connecting to the device properly, I am going to show you the ADB tool. ADB stands for Android Debug Bridge and is very useful during Android development. We will be using it from the terminal. You can either use the terminal installed on your OS or you can use that comes with Android Studio. I'll be using the one that is inside Android Studio. Go to the bottom and click on Terminal. The ADB command is located inside your Android SDK. To find out where the SDK is installed, go to Preferences. Search for Android. On the top, you can see Android SDK location. Copy that. Close this dialog. In the terminal, paste in the SDK location. After that, at Platform Tools, ADB. If you are on Windows, at adb.exe. After ADB, type space devices. Before we plug in the phone, it is going to show an empty list. Now let's plug in the phone. When you plug your phone in for the first time, it is going to show you a dialog that asks you if you want to allow USB debugging. Click Always Allow from this computer and then tap OK. Next, we will go back to Android Studio. In the terminal, we will run ADB device again. You can press up so that you don't need to type everything again. This time, we can see that the device is listed. If you are going to do a lot of Android development, you may want to add ADB to your path variable so that you do not have to specify completely every time you use it. Now that we have connected our device, let's deploy our app. Go to the top toolbar and click on the green triangle next to the app dropdown. This time you can see more than one target. First is our phone under the connected device list, and then after that it says available virtual devices. If you want to choose the phone, You will need to click on it before the click OK. Android Studio is showing us the instant run dialog. It is an advanced feature, so we are going to proceed without instant run for our first app. Congratulations! Now your app is running on your phone. Next, we are going to walk through this app to understand how it works. Thank you. Let's look at something else under the rest folder. If you look at your Android manifest in line 11, you can see that it says Android:theme and then at style/app theme. If you command click on it and then use the target icon, you can see that it corresponds to res values style.xml. As a rule of thumb, when you see something that is at something, you can find it at the same place inside the rest folder. Here we are defining the style for our app. In line 4, you can see that this style is called app theme and it inherits from the parents theme.appcompat.light.darkActionBar. What does that mean? The best way to explain this is to look at the app, so let's run it. You can switch windows to bring back the emulator, and then if the app is not already running, you can go to the app drawer, also known as the launcher, to launch it. I'm going to close the side tabs so that we can see the style files and emulator at the same time. Here you can see what we mean by light action bar on line 4. Light means that the main area of the app is of a light color, and dark action bar means that the action bar on top where it says hello world, it is of dark color. Within the style tag, you can see how we specify the colors themselves. In line 6, it has an item color primary. Color primary is used in the action bar, the part where you can see the title, and then in line 7, you can see that it has color primary dark. That is a part that is above the action bar. We call it the status bar and it has a darker color. How do we define these colors? Go back to Android Studio, open the project tab again, then command click on color primary. If you click on the target icon, you can see that we jump to the color.xml file under res values. Here we define the color primary using hash. Android Studio conveniently shows us what the color is on the cursor on the left. We also define color primary dark and color accent. Both are used in our style. What is color accent? If you go back to our app, we don't see any pink color. Color accent is used in other widgets. For example, if you have an edit text, the color pink will show. Let's try that. Go to activity_main.xml. In line 9, replace text view with edit text. Run the app by clicking on the green triangle. Click OK to select the emulator. By replacing text view with edit text, we can now change what this says. So for example, we can have it says just hello. In this edit text, you can see that the cursor is blinking pink, and then also the underline is pink. That's our accent color. When you use other widgets in Android, for example a checkbox, the accent color is also going to be used. We have written an Android app and walked through all its components. Let's do a recap. Whenever you see an Android app, the first thing you will want to do is to open the manifest. The manifest is a list of all the different components that make this app. We have a top level application tag, and inside we have an activity. More complicated apps will have more activities. If you go to the activity, you can see that this is where the Kotlin code resides. Within that, it is hooked up to the layout file which specify what to display on the app. Going back to the manifest, you can see other sources. We have the mipmap resource for our launcher icon, the string resource for our app_name, and then the app style resource for our themes. Within the theme, we're using color resource to specify the different colors in the app. Great! Now you have built your first Android app and have a great understanding of its component. All for this course. Thank you. An Android app to a user. An Android app looks like a single unit, but in fact, when you develop an Android app, it is better to think of it as a collection of activities. Each activity will correspond to one particular screen inside your app. Think of it like a website. Each website is a collection of individual web pages, and together it makes the website. When you browse around on the app, you don't always stay on one website. For example, you may be checking your email on gmail.com and your friend send you a link to cute cat video. When you click on that, you are leaving gmail.com to go to youtube.com to watch it. Android works the same way. An activity inside a Gmail app will show you your email. But when you click on a particular item, for example the cat video, Gmail may open YouTube app and show you the watch activity inside the YouTube app so that you can watch those cute kitties. This was exactly the same like the web, and it is what makes Android so powerful. Different little apps can work together to make a great experience. Now that you know what is an Android app, next we are going to look into the Hello World app and see how it works. Thank you. As I explained before, an Android app consists of a list of activities. To know what are all the activities inside an app, we can look at the manifest file. On the left hand side, expand the app folder and then expand source. Inside, go to the main folder. This is where everything happens right now. Under app, source, main. Double click on Android manifest.xml. You can think of the manifest like a directory that lists every component that is used inside the app. In line 5, you can see the application tag. Right inside the application tag, in line 12, is the activity. For this app, we have one single activity, the main activity. Inside activity, you can see the intent filter tag. It specifies that this is of the action main and the category launcher. This means that we want Android to list the main activity in the launcher. What is the launcher? The launcher is a list of apps that are installed on your phone. Let's bring up the emulator so that we can see what is the launcher. Click on this icon on the top, which is a purple rectangle. Choose your emulator, click on the green triangle to launch it. On the emulator, you can see a little arrow at the bottom. If you click on it, it will show a list of apps. This is the launcher. Can you find Hello World or app? It's right here, and when you click on it, main activity is launched. This is all done by the manifest. Next, we are going to look into a main activity. To open main activity, there are two ways. You can either navigate on the left hand side on the list of folders, or you can go to the word main activity on line 12 and press Command plus click. If you're on Mac or if you're on Windows or Linux, do Control click. This is main activity. If you want to know where it is on a file structure, you can go to the left hand side and click on the target icon. Android Studio will expand the folder for you and show exactly where this file lives. For main activity, it is under app, source, main, Java, and then your package name, which is going to be, for our case, com/skysland/hello world, and then the main activity.kt, which is not shown on that side. But you can see the file extension if you look at the top on tab. .kt stand for Kotlin, and indeed main activity is written in Kotlin. The activity is very short. It has one function, onCreate. onCreate is called when Android creates our activity. On line 10, you can see that it calls set content view and then r.layout.activity_main. This tells Android that we want to load this layout file and show it to the user when this activity is created. Next, we are going to look into the layout file. Thank you. To look at the layout file, we can command click on the r.layout.activity_main position inside activity. Here you can see a graphical representation of the layout. To look at the code, click on the text tab at the bottom and close preview tab so that we will see all the code. Android uses XML to represent our layout. A layout is just a collection of objects that you want to show on the screen. Here, the top level tag in line 2 say it's a constraint layout. Inside the constraint layout, we have a text view in line 9. Text view is a very basic Android view that is used to show text. What text? In line 12, you can see that it says Hello World. As you develop more Android apps, your layout will get more complicated. Some people prefer to use the design tool to add these views, and other people prefer to edit the XML directory. Either way is fine. Just look the activity. We can click on the target icon to see where this file lives on the disk. You can see that activity_main.xml lives under app source res layout. Res stands for resource and it is under the layout folder because we are using it to display things on the screen. If you go back to the main activity, you can see that we are calling a set content view with r.layout.activity_main. This automatic mapping between XML and Kotlin is done by the build tool. Android works on convention. So as long as you put it under the rest folder, Android will automatically generate this pointer for you to use in Kotlin. If you look at the rest folder, you can see that there are a lot of other things. In the next video, we will look at some of them. In the last video, we'll look at the layout file which lives in the rest folder. There are many other folders under rest. Let's take a look at what they do. Open the values folder. You can see that there are colors, string, styles. Some of them are used in a manifest. So let's open the file and take a look. In Android manifest.xml in line 8, you can see that it says Android:label equals hello world. But hello world has a funny color. If you click on it, it will show you that it is actually at string/app name. What we saw earlier is called co-folding. It is automatically turned on Android Studio so that it is easier to read. However, the string hello world is not actually inside the manifest, but in string.xml. If you command click on it, you can see that strings.xml contains the tag string and the name, app name, and then hello world. What is going on here? With res values/string.xml, what we are telling Android is that we want to place the strings inside the XML and then be able to use it to the rest of the app. You may ask, why do I need to go through this level of interaction? If I go back to the activity_main.xml, I can see that I can directly type in the string and that works just fine. The reason why you want to go through strings.xml is for internationalization. Internationalization allows you to change the language of your app and display different string for different users. When we put all of our string in the same place, Android has a clever way of doing this. Right now, we only have res values string.xml. If you create another folder that is parallel to values and call it values-fr, and then you can put another folder called strings.xml with the same string. For example, app_name. Values-fr correspond to the French language, and inside that particular string.xml you will put probably voyons. And when a French user uses your app, he or she will see it in French. That is why it is good practice to put all your string inside strings.xml. Next, we will look into how Android uses images. Let's take a look at how Android specify images inside the REST folder. Go to Android manifest.xml. In line 7, you can see that it says Android:_icon and then at mipmap/ic_launcher. If you look on the left hand side, you can see that under the REST folder, there are many mipmap folders. What is going on here? Once again, command click on the icon and then you can see that Android maps it all to the different folders under REST that has the prefix mipmap. They all have the suffix dpi. dpi is a way for Android to talk about density. By density, I mean that there are many different films out there and some of them pack more pixels on the same physical area than others. Here we can see that there is HDPI, which stands for high density, MDPI, which stands for medium density, and XHDPI, which stands for extra high density, etc. If you click one of them, say MDPI, Android will show you the image. For this particular one, it is called IC_launcher, which is what people usually call their app icon. There are so many folders because we want Android to download a much higher density version when the device supports it. If you go back to the manifest and command click on the icon, you can choose another density, says XXXH. Compare that to the MDPI version and you can see that this is of much higher density. Every time you need an image in Android, the best way is to put it under the REST folder and have multiple versions of it so that you can support different densities. In newer Android versions, it will also support vectors, but we are not going to cover this in this course. Next, we will look at other two files under values: colors and styles.